What's up, dedicated Dragon Ball denizens? I'm Ryan, and we're here for another episode of the Hawks Dragon Ball Nest. And this time we're going to get into our Android 18 deck. I don't really like how my hat's a little offset there. So we'll get into my deck profile on Android 18, a fun deck that I made. Still not sure we're quite optimal at the list yet, but I like it. I like the flexibility of it. I've been doing decent online. I feel like I'm still getting the play lines down a little bit and when to use what. But I've been improving a lot and winning a lot more matches over the past few days. So let's check it out. Alright, now Android 18. 18 came out in the FB06 era, and it looked like just a dead-on arrival leader. She was not very good. Not very good when she first came out. The manga booster did give her a really big boost, and she turned into a decent deck, just wholly overshadowed by Cell, who was just significantly better as a deck, and arguably still is now. But 18 has continued to get some support, and luckily, like pretty much, well, not mostly, all support Cell has gotten has also been 18 support, which we'll see here. But the downside is we still don't have that big 40k leader swing that Cell does. But we do have a lot of flexibility and ability for board clear. 18 has now that Cell doesn't quite have anymore, especially after the limits of the 5-cost Cell and the Self-Destruct, which we do have in here as a one of still. So anyway, let's talk about 18 though. Basic leader on front when attacking, draw a card. On 4 less flip, and then on the backside, she is a 20k leader when attacking, draw a card. And this is her leader skill, which is pretty cool. I do feel like it just needed a little bit more, right? So your battle cards with Android and their special traits that are in a battle with your opponent's battle cards get plus 20k power for the battle. So basically you can boost up any of your battle cards by 20k when attacking another battle card. And they have to have Android in them. So on one end, I really wish they didn't have the Android. I think I've mentioned that in multiple videos. We could have done some cool stuff like bring in the FB01 SCR Goku, which would maybe be a little bit too ridiculous, but I don't think so. To really have something cool there. But, you know, we've got some fun stuff that the deck can do here, okay? So, let's get into some of the battle cards. Alright, a lot of these are going to be pretty basic. You know, we're going to see the Cantrip 18 at 4 and the SR 18 at 4 as well. Then we're going to throw in 4 of the Android 17s just to give us some nice draw power on turn 2. That's it for those lower costs. Then we're getting into quite a few 3 costs here. Again, Android 16 is just a ridiculously good SR. But then we also have 4 of the newers, FB07. I actually was surprised. I was like, what? Isn't this a newer card? No, it's been around. So we've got the Android 16 3 cost 25k 5k combo, and pretty cool. So add up to 1 card from your left to your hand. Then if your leader is Android 18 during this turn, the next time you use a card an extra with 3 or less in Android and its traits, you don't have to pay the cost. So finally, you know, this was something that we should have gotten like FB05 or FB06. Like, come on. This should have been a card that came out with Android. And remember that we went through SB02, and then we finally got this card. And a lot of people had already kind of forgotten about 18 by then. So it is pretty cool that we can play that field now for free, or any other Android extra, which we'll get into later as well. And you'll see some of them on the screen. Then we've got this promo, which initially I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to actually include this. It's a 0 combo. It's 25k 3 cost. Like, it's not that great. But when you look at it, it's actually a really nice card for board clear. Because on play, you choose a battle card, it gets minus 10k. So now you're going to minus a card by 10k, and then you can use your leader skill on this card to boost it up to a 45k. And then the cool thing, auto once per turn. If your leader's Android 18, when this card KOs another battle card in battle, switch it to active mode. Downside is it is once per turn, but the cool thing that I really do like about this card is you're going to go whatever card you want to get rid of in your opponent's battle area minus by 20k. So let's say even if it's a 40k, right? Then now it's 10k, it's a 30. And now we're going to hit with the Android 18, that's a 45. And now your opponent has to use a super combo or a couple cards in hand if they want to defend that card. And that's if it's a 40. I mean, we're talking about 30s, 35s, 25s. They're rarely defending those. And then you've got an extra swing. And if they do defend, it's going to cost them a lot. So I actually really like this card in the deck. I kind of went down to 3 and then I didn't really like it. So I went back up. So let's skip the next one and go right into our 4s. It's the Android 17 promo. Another just really good card. On play, if your leader has Android, play a battle card as 3 or less with Android from your hand. So any of those at 2 Android 16s I just talked about, or the Android 18, we're going to free play out there. And then when attacking, if an opponent's battle card is KO'd in battle, this card gets plus 15k power for the battle. I wish it would kind of be like for the turn or something. That way on your opponent's turn, this guy stays as a 40, but might be too OP, but I don't think so. So it's pretty nice, you know. It really pairs well with 18, because usually she's going to KO something, and then now this guy's a 40k, and you know, not to mention the fact that you're dual playing those 2 cards out is really nice there. Then now I was on the fence, like, do I want to play the Cell package or not? I almost wanted to try it like without it, but then after a few battles I realized you gotta play the Cell package. You got it. It doesn't mean that you're hamstrung to it. It's not always the best play, and maybe it's more often than I play it because I just try not to, but it's good. I mean, for one, we're talking about 2 10k combo cards in here, right? The Cell Juniors are 10k combo. They're helping you with that board clear. You can leader skill to boost these guys up, and they're 35ks now in battle, right? So I went 4 of, and then obviously 4 of this guy. I mean, it's a minus 10k on the board. You could do a lot with him, especially like going with this cell. Like if you're going to fuse that turn and you're minusing something by a 10, we're talking about a 35k. Now you can just use your leader skill on 18, and you can go 25 into a 25. Or less. Usually you can KO something before you absorb. And then obviously we went with the 1 of Cell, which, you know, solid card. When he gets KO'd, we're going to play a 2 or less from drop. Cool. And then we've got the 4 or less. I really wish this was a 3 or less, but I mean, that would be OP, because imagine being able to play this one out if you KO him. Would be a little bit ridiculous, but yeah. So we got that, and then I went with 3 of the regular cells. I decided to stick him at 3. That way I just kind of am playing 4 of the 5s and 4 of the 4s, because there's just not a ton of room in the deck with what I want to do. In essence, I'm playing kind of 2 decks in one, right? Cell, the part of the reason I think Cell was also the better, the better of the 2 Androids, it's not just because of the 40k swing, but also the consistency. You know, it's one of the most consistent decks out there, because we just had that one play line, and every other card in the deck was just trying to make sure that we did that play line. So, you know, that's why we're out here with that, and we've got a little bit less, so our consistency does suffer here a little bit, but the flexibility is even better, which I just love flexible decks, right? Dr. Gero, SBO, I think this one was what, SB01, you know, the reprint of it. I just think it's the coolest super combo. It's so funny. All right, so then I went with This Is Over By. I just think this is a nice card, especially when we're focused on KOing our opponent's board. However, I'm a little bit less sure lately. I'm thinking, and we'll get into what card I might be thinking about in the other cards to consider, but it does make it good. What I have noticed about this deck is the draw power is ridiculous. Despite us a lot of times playing 2 battle cards per turn, you know, we already knew that Cell had the ridiculousness because of the 4 cost, but even though we're playing out a 4 and a 3, I find myself having a lot of cards in hand, and this is one of the reasons why. You can free play it with our Android 16 3 cost if we don't want to play the field and we're drawing cards. No, drawing 2, it's pretty good, and it helps us cycle through the deck. But at the same time, I'm noticing that, like, I'm getting a really big hand. You know, I'm in battles with 13 and 14 cards in hand, but it's not always helping me win. Yeah, because of my battle cards just don't have a ton of oomph to them. And then sometimes it's a dead card in hand where, you know, I might just be using my minuses to clear the board. And either my opponent just defends because it's kind of telegraphed that I'm going to use the this is over by when I'm playing the Android, so my opponent will give some extra defense, or, you know, they defend and now I just have a dead card in hand. Or sometimes their board's just clear. So yeah, this one, I'm kind of on the fence if it's really good or not. Obviously, I'm going to play the one Self-Destruct. Remember, you can recur it if you use it before this guy and play it a second time. So we've got that. And then I just like the Bleak Future. It really just helps me when I can attack unrested cards. It's helping me be able to use this is over by. It's helping me be able to get his boost up. And a lot of times I'm playing it for free. So I have it as a 3 of. It really works, and it kind of messes up my opponent's game plan. The battles that I win and win comfortably, usually that field played a role in it. Strategy, strengths, and weaknesses. The strategy is really keeping your opponent's board clear. You know, taking advantage of field. Let's get the field off screen. We're going to take advantage of the field. We're going to take advantage of our leader skill to, you know, just strategically attack opponent's board and then life, right? You don't want to go too much for board, right? Because then you're just not going to win. And eventually they're going to start getting boss bodies out there and just eating your cards in hand. And it's also not very hard for them to take out your board. That's kind of why I mentioned, like, with this guy, like, cool, he's a 40k when I'm attacking, but then on my opponent's turn, he's really easy to get rid of as a 25k. If you're over defending your board, you're going to find yourself in a bad spot, you know, which is why this cell really does come in handy. But at the same time, permanent your turn. He's only a 30k on your opponent's turn, so your monsters on board are not going to be easy to defend. They're going to take multiple cards, so even though we're drawing and getting a pretty big hand, that's kind of where we're going here, right? So then the other strategy, am I going to use which 4 costs am I using? Am I using Cell or am I using Android 17? You know, usually if you aren't going to have a hard time clearing your opponent's board, or if there's nothing to clear and you're not going to get that boost, let's go with Cell. Remember that Cell does have that -10, and then you can also play the Cell Juniors for free. So what's going to be the easier way to balance your pressure to life with getting their board down? And a lot of times it's Cell. Also thinking about energy management is, you know, do I have an 18 on board or not? If you don't, then usually you're going to go with 17 because he could throw on 2. Go from there. But don't forget, this Android 18 can be eaten by your 4-cost Cell if you want to. After she attacks, if you already have her on board and maybe you're not at 5 energy, or somehow you don't have that 1-cost 18 in hand, you can use him afterwards. It's kind of debatable on if it's good because you're taking away a body that your opponent can attack. So a lot of times I like to just throw him out there. But also, consistency is there. You know, consistency is like, do I have something to play with this guy? Do I have my 5? Like, I have had turns where it's like, okay, Cell's the way to go. Oh, I don't have a 5 cost, so I'm gonna have to go with the other route there. Okay, and then there is a lot of draw power. I mean, no, obviously we've known that Cell has in Android 18 has these 3 cards which are just great for draw. This guy's replacing himself, you know, but then we've got this over by is also a nice draw power, right? So you're doing both, right? It's a flexible deck, as I've been mentioning, very flexible, where we can go with either of our 2 4 costs and kind of go with really different play lines, you know, and what's going to be better. And it's very swarmy because we're playing out multiple bodies per turn. With this guy, you can even get this homeboy out there too. You know, the Cell is kind of pseudo swarm because you do get 2 attacks with him per turn, so go from there. And then the weaknesses, though, another thing I've been talking about is just there's no big boss out there. You know, Cell himself operated as that, you know, as the leader swing is a 40k per turn, which makes that really big. You get a 40k when you're playing this guy, but to call this guy a boss monster, I don't think it's he's not a boss monster. You know, you get a nice 40k swing if you defend him. As a 30, you get another. But this is our strongest card, along with 17, which give you 40k swings per turn. But a boss monster is also somebody who you can usually easily defend. You know, so that's a big problem there. The other thing is obviously multiple pieces. You know, you not only need a 4-cost 17, you need a 3-cost to play behind him, and you also situationally need it. You know, sometimes my opponent's board's clear and I've got this one in hand, like, well, she's not that great. Sometimes I've got this guy in hand, cool, I want to play him, but I don't have an extra to play with him. So there's a lot going on here. And then combo power too, compared to Cell, like, we do have some 10Ks. Obviously we've got these two and the Cell Juniors and this guy, you know, but we've got to be careful. You can't use too many of these guys in combos. I will charge or use one. This guy's usually my go-to 10K, but you know, we just don't have a lot of defense here. This is a 0, 5s. We've got, you know, we're playing with 7 extras, so that's an issue there. And we'll talk about some other cards to consider here. The first one is the Daima Goku from FB04. It's a really good card. Helps you awaken. 10k combo in hand, which the deck does need more of, and then, you know, he gets to be a 30k if he survives upon awaken. Is a nice body. I removed it because I just couldn't really fit him in. I don't know what I would remove. You know, if maybe reducing a couple of these cards to 3 or 2 could be the option there, but I just wasn't really seeing him. When I played him, he was usually my turn too. But then again, you probably want to play the Android 17 of them. So I don't know. This one I've always wanted to work in the deck. The SCR FB01 Goku, just because, you know, he's able to go ahead and hit life. I mean, he shouldn't be in there. I don't know why I would try to force him in. Just as, like, you know, a pseudo boss monster again, right? He's gonna minus 15k from someone. You know, he could help you go for game, but there's probably a lot better ways to go. If only we can attack unrested cards with him. But, you know, he can work. He can work. What else do we got? Then the 2-cost Android 18. I probably should have put the other one in there, the 10k combo as well. I've always liked this one more because it's a blocker, but not like we're usually going to use it to block. The other one that's the 10k that, you know, fell more into favor is the 15k base, but in battle it's going to be a 20k, so it's essentially the same thing with 10k more combo minus the blocker. But I don't know, I've always liked the blocker, but I'm probably dumb because I need more 10ks. Then we've got the Fusion Android 13. You know, another card that I'd like to throw in as a 2 of. He is a boss monster, much more comparatively, right? And, you know, on play he's going to get that 55k, helping you go for game, or you just throw him out there and clear board. I don't really have too much issues clearing board without him. Like, I want to. I really like this card, but again, I just don't know if he has a place in there. Maybe it'd be a good idea to just go ahead and remove some of those extras from the deck and just play him out there, but I don't know, let me know your thoughts. Now, the last one I thought about, and I was doing this as I was making this profile, so I may try it out in later on. I may not. It's the Hell's Flash. So activate battle your turn. Your cards with Android and their special traits get plus 25k for the battle. So that's a really nice boost, 25k. It can really help you push for game if you're doing that, or also help you clear board. Remember that your Android 16 can play this card for free the turn you play him out there, so it does give you a little bit more incentive. And then I do find that sometimes I've got an extra energy out there that I might, late game that I'm playing, just a cantrip or one of those 18s for that. Maybe it works. So it's a nice card. I think it's one I kind of forgot about because it doesn't see a ton of play. But this one may be what we want to go ahead and replace the This Is Over buy with. I don't know. I feel like maybe it's just it would be more consistent. And if we really think about it, we're drawing 2 when we use it. how many cards is this going to take out of your opponent's hand? A 25k means a super combo plus to get out of it if they want to defend. So I don't know. When we're really thinking about, plus and minus, this card might be a little bit better. Obviously, the draw power, though, gives you may find your pieces with. So let me know in the comments what you think. Should we try out Hell's Flash or not? Alright, well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Hawks Dragon Ball Nest. Hope you enjoyed this deck profile. Feels like a while since I've done one. Well, no, I did Gogeta. Shoot, it probably has been about a month, though. We're zoning in, though. We're about, 3 weeks or so away from FB09, and oh man, what a set. I've got proxies printed out. I'm about to get my Shallot together. Look at this. I'm about to get my Shallot deck together for locals. We're going to bust out Shallot. I've got some others I printed out for Caulifla. Green Vegeta as well. So a lot of legacy decks I want to play. Even, man, Vegito. But then there's the new stuff too. So this set's going to be interesting. I think these last two sets have really been cool in terms of like the meta out here. Like there's no clear best deck in format for FB08, which is kind of crazy comparatively compared to everything. So I really like it. I've been enjoying this. I'm excited to continue into the next set. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, if you liked what you saw, hit that subscribe button. We need to get to 500 subs. We need to get to 500 subs. So help me get there so I can keep doing this and keep putting out content, and hopefully one day do this full time so that I could get even better content. Hit me up in DMs, RYBred619, RYBRED619. Hook up with 20 FB08. Wait, yeah, FB08 or SB02 code cards. 20. If you've already gotten some, come on back. I still got some more. For you. Just show that you're still a subscriber for me. Invite a friend. Who loves Dragon Ball. We're coming back. I've got a lot of ideas flowing for the channel. We're going to expand over the next year. Right now, I'm focused on a couple things outside of the channel, so nothing super new will be coming, but give it about mid-year something, and we're going to start getting even more content out there. But let me know. Give me a comment on, like, what do you want to see? What do you want to see? What are we missing in Fusion World or Dragon Ball in general? Anyway, until then, we'll see you next time.